Welcome, everybody, to a new year. Happy New Year to you all. I also want to welcome you once again to our 3 times a week devotions. Two of them will be spoken on a psalm, and then the one in the middle on Wednesday will continue to be presented by our church musicians as a musical reflection and a time of contemplation through music and images. I come to you once again. I've done this a couple times in my laundry room in my basement. I have a house full of kids, and it's been wonderful to have them around. I know that not everyone has been able to be with family in that way, and so I want to say that even though I've enjoyed having kids around, and they did all the appropriate stuff beforehand. They quarantined and they've been very careful since they've been here. I know everyone has not been able to experience that, and so I want to just offer my word of prayer that has been with me during this time of Christmas, that we all may soon be joined together with one another, family and friends and neighbors, the way that we desire and is so important and life-giving for us. Our psalm to start out this new week here, Monday morning, is Psalm 18, and I'm going to read it, the first 6 verses, I think. So, Psalm 18. I love you, O Lord, my strength. The Lord is my rock, my fortress, and my deliverer, my God, my rock, in whom I take refuge, my shield, and the horn of my salvation, my stronghold. I call upon the Lord, who is worthy to be praised, so I shall be saved from my enemies. The cords of death encompassed me. The torrents of perdition assailed me. The cords of Sheol entangled me. The snares of death confronted me. In my distress, I called upon the Lord. To my God, I cried for help. From his temple, he heard my voice, and my cry to him reached his ears. Those are the first 6 verses of Psalm 18. I want to start out with the really amazing part of this section of the psalm that I think we overlook quite a bit, and that is the trust that the psalmist has that the Lord hears the psalmist's voice, hears the psalmist's cries, and the Lord's ears are open to hearing what it is that the psalmist is speaking, much in the same way the Lord is open to hearing what we are speaking and what we need to get off our hearts and off our minds, off our lips. The God is there to hear and take into God's very being what we have to say. It's an amazing affirmation on the part of the psalm, and something that we can trust that in the midst of our lives, the Lord is doing exactly the same. We cry to the Lord for help, and the Lord hears our voice. Our voice reaches the Lord's ears. So that's an amazing, comforting, at least for me, and I hope for all of us, sense that the Lord is near, listening and receiving our cries for help, as well as our cries of joy and celebration also. There is a section here in the middle of these first 6 verses that I really want to kind of open up for us. It was interesting to me to hear the parallelism, the cords of death, the torrents of perdition, the cords of Sheol, the snares of death. Cords of death and snares of death begin and end this section here in the middle. Torrents of perdition and cords of Sheol right in the middle. There's this kind of sing-song back and forth between those things that ensnare and entangle us and the things that try to wash us away. I think this past year has been a year in which all of us have been snared by something that tries to drag us down. Obviously, the pandemic has come to each and every one of us with snares in different ways. For some of it has been mental health. We have suffered. Many folks have talked with me about their sufferings in their mental health and their mental illness being exacerbated during the time of pandemic. It can be physical. There are so many of us who, either in our own bodies or in the bodies of those we love or have cared for have experienced COVID-19. Some of our family, friends, or neighbors, even unto death. And these cords have wrapped themselves around our companions and taken them into the realm of death. And we, as followers of Jesus, also in the midst of that, can hold on to with very tight and firm grip the promise of the resurrection from the dead, but still knowing that there are so many among us who have suffered this way and continue to mourn grief, filling hearts, and that mourning, that losing of those who are important to us does continue to threaten to be a torrent that sweeps us away into perdition, into nothingness, into a suffering that we hope to get out of, but the grief is really strong and continues to bind us. That middle section of these first 6 verses really captures to a strong degree many of the experiences, whether they're mental or physical, and then also economic and social. Being isolated takes a toll for many of us, our friends and neighbors, our family. The economic toll of the pandemic continues to weigh heavy on us. And so I think the psalmist recognizes that in the midst of all of those things, we can and do call upon the Lord, who does hear us. And then I want to start with those few verses I start out with, that the Lord is our rock, our fortress, who saves us from our enemies. It is, again, an amazing thing to count on God as a present, listening, saving reality in our lives, no matter what. That nothing can separate us from the work of God to bring us into new life, into salvation, even beginning here this day, this first Monday of the new year, 2021, that God is this day with us, working salvation in us and in our lives, extracting us from the bonds of death and allowing us to live freely with one another in grace and peace and truth. I hope that is what all of us might have some experience of this day, the Lord's release to live life anew, even when things threaten to sweep us away or entangle us. God is for us, not against us. Blessed be God. It's good to be back with you doing these devotions. God bless you. I love you all. And as we enter into this new year, let's look forward to some really great things happening for us, for our community, for our world. God bless you all. Bye now.